Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to TechGig webinar series, our endeavor to empower techies. We believe that sharing of knowledge is the key to enhance our skills and grow us as professionals. With this principle in mind, we have initiated a series of webinars conducted by industry experts to give you all a crisp insight of various domains. The topic of today's session is Force of Habit: 7 Essentials for 21st Century IT Professionals. This is the session 14 of Project Management Leadership Series initiated by PMI. Our guest speaker today is Mr. Raja Bhavani. Raja Bhavani is the Chief Architect of Mindtree's Product Engineering Services and IT Services Groups and plays the role of Agile Evangelist. He has more than 20 years of experience in the IT industry and has presented papers at various international conferences on topics related to code quality, distributed agile, customer value management, and software estimation. His areas of interest include global delivery model, agile software development, requirements engineering, software architecture, software reuse, customer value management, knowledge management, and IT outsourcing. He is a member of CSI, IEEE, and IEEE Computer Society. He regularly interfaces with educational institutions to offer guest lectures and writes for technical conferences. Also, he writes for magazines such as Agile Record, Qatar IT Journal, and SD Times. Mr. Bhavani blogs on distributed agile at www.mindtree.com/blogs. So without further delay, I introduce you all to our guest speaker. Over to you, Mr. Bhavani.
Thanks, Mohini. That was a good introduction. So we have around about 215 attendees, and the number is increasing. Are you able to hear me, Mohini?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Hello?
Yeah, your screen is visible.
Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you as well.
Visible, okay. Okay.
Yeah, it's
So
good.
welcome everyone. Yeah, okay. So I have chosen this topic today because this topic is very relevant to the project managers of this century. And I'm very happy to deliver this session, and I would like to thank PMI TechWeb and the Times of India for inviting me to deliver this webinar. As you see in the agenda, we are going to have 5 or 6 distinct parts in this webinar. At the beginning, I'm going to set the context by providing some statistics or survey results, and make all of us understand where we are and the areas that need attention in our industry. After which I'm going to take you through the concept called force of habit, and talk about the 4 stages of learning and the 7 essentials, and finally end with how the whole thing creates a virtuous cycle for us, and budget adequate time for answers and discussions. PMI conducts a survey called Pulse of the Profession. This survey is an annual global survey participated by thousands of professionals across the world. And these professionals come with a variety of experience levels from various industries. And the survey conducted recently has been published at PMI website. As this picture demonstrates, going forward during 2012, we need to be balancing the investment, speed, and our ability to meet the market demands. So speed to market is going to be important, and agility is going to be very important as well. And let me take you through the next slide, which typically talks about where are we in this survey in terms of project management practices. If you compare 2010 and 2011, 2010, if you see, say, change management, 71% of the organizations were practicing change management. And in 2011 survey, it has been found that there has been a 2% increase. Whereas if you go to a technique like earned value management, from 37%, a 5% increase, 42%. So which means there are 58% organizations surveyed are not using EVM. And if you look at this one, have a formal process for developing project manager competency, declined from 52 to 47%. So even if you keep it at 52%, this shows that 48% of the organizations surveyed do not have a formal process for developing project manager competence. And in the next slide, I have given details from the same report of organizations reflect in terms of project success. Low organizations or organizations with low maturity came out with 39% of on-time delivery and completed 44% project on budget, and 53% of projects were completed with original goals and business intent, whereas the percentage increased as the maturity moved from low to medium and high. So this shows that organizations with high level maturity outperform low maturity organizations. And in terms of success factor, what determines the success factor? What are the critical success factors? Talent is number one. Because 72% of the organization surveyed, they have over 35% of project managers certified to PMP. And 72% of them use risk management. 70% of them have a formal process for developing competency among managers. And 69% of them have a formal process to mature project management practices. And 68% of them use agile project management. So when I read this report, the top 5 success factors, as I understand, are talent, having a realistic plan when you plan about executing a project, and having executive sponsorship, focus on benefits, and focus on change management. Let me move on. The bottom line means how you spend money and what kind of value you get out of projects. When projects fail, it was found that an average of 1/3 of that project's budget was lost. It was not recoverable. So, which means that if you spend $1 million in a project and you are going to see 1/3 of the project budget lost when the project fails. And on the average, it was found that 36% of the projects do not meet their original goal and business. So this means that 12 cents lost for every dollar spent. So whenever we come across failed project, this is the impact. So if you take it, this is what we get. for every $1 million spent, assuming that the project success rate is 64%, the loss of project dollars at risk is 120,000 US dollars. And as the project cost increases, say it becomes 25 million, then the amount at risk increases. If it is 50 million, it goes further above. So this shows that when we plan and mature our practices, we will get the ability to reduce this amount. We will be able to do this when we increase the number of projects, or we increase the success rate of projects. And let me show you some more statistics from Agile Survey, because we saw that the Agile software development methodologies are becoming popular and the adoption rate is becoming higher and higher. So when you look at this chart was a result of a survey conducted by version 1 during 2010. And this chart shows a red light. Number 1 is collective code ownership. Only 36% of the teams surveyed indicated that there was collective code ownership. So which means that if there are 10 developers in a team, every developer knew the code written by the rest of the team, and they were able to maintain the code or modify the code. So this is a risky situation. If only 36% of the team members have collective code ownership, what about the remaining 64%? And next is coding standards. Only 56% of the teams follow coding standards. So they were able to write code which is seamless, which is standardized. The remaining 44% is a question. Continuous integration and automated work. So continuous integration is a practice that helps us ensure that we resolve integration issues or compile issues on a daily basis. So this is a fundamental requirement for all software projects. But this survey showed that only 65% of the teams practiced it. Let me show you some more numbers. This is from Scott Ambler's survey conducted in 2010, where the question asked was, how are agile teams providing value to stakeholders? So they gave various results, various answers. In terms of focusing on the definition of done, in terms of considering usability, 70%. In terms of identifying stakeholders and goals, 71%. So this clearly shows that we focus a lot on producing working software, whereas our focus on the definition of done in terms of carrying out unit tests or meeting acceptance tests, or even taking an attempt to have a clear definition of done needs to improve further. That is very important. And the next one is focus on quality. What is our focus on quality? How are agile teams validating their own work? This survey revealed that only 32% of the teams do static code analysis, which is a great technique to improve the quality of code. And 53% claim that they do developers test-driven development. So these surveys are eye-openers. What do these surveys tell us? Number one is the complexity and challenges in IT profession is on the rise. Talent management is critical to success. Organizations with high maturity levels perform better in terms of delivering successful projects. And adoption of agile and distributed agile is on the rise. And improving our focus on practices related to both project management and software engineering will have a positive impact on the success rate of projects. So there is no other way about improving the success rate of projects. We have to focus and improve project management practices, and we have to focus and improve software engineering practices. So with that introduction, let me tell you what I mean by force of habit with two powerful quotations. So habits are very powerful, and we are what we repeatedly do. So, which means that excellence is not an act but a habit. That's what Aristotle told. And the Spanish proverb says, habits are first cobblers. They seem very feeble, but they become very strong. Then they become cables. So, when we say that the project success rate is not very high, we have to think if we have formed certain habits which are not so good. If we have to think and develop certain practices and convert them into habits so that we will be able to increase the success rate of projects. So with that, let us quickly see 4 stages of learning. When we learn anything. The first stage is unconscious incompetence. At this stage, we do not know what we don't know. An example is someone who looks at a singer on stage and thinks that, you know what, I think I can also sing that song. And he may have his own assumptions. He may think that this song is very simple. I have come across this song several times. It's very familiar to me. And I think I can sing like him or even better than this singer. But when we try it out, or when we become aware of the situation, on the next stage called conscious competence. When you try to do an activity, when you try to perform, you become conscious of what is really involved in performing. So you become conscious of your incompetence, and then you know what are the gaps in your learning, or what is that you're lacking in terms of competence. So moving from stage 1 to stage 2 is a difficult process. Unless you are ready to become self-aware and conscious of your incompetence, you will not move. And from stage 2, you move to conscious competence, where you initiate certain things, you start practicing, you start learning, and you are consciously practicing something. And eventually, you end up at the 4th level, which is unconscious. You are not aware, but you are expert at this level. Let me give you another example. Let us assume that there is a group of school-going kids in a street corner, and they are looking at a businessman who is driving a Mercedes-Benz on the road. And one of the kids in the group claims that, you know what, I know how to drive that car. It is so easy. My dad has a car like this. That is stage 1. You are unconscious, you are incompetent, but you claim that you can do something. But when that kid becomes an adult and wants to drive a car, um, naturally you join a driving school, and on the first day of your driving lessons, you get into this stage called conscious incompetence, which is stage 2. So you realize that there are so many things to be learned, and you agree that, yes, I'm going to put my efforts in learning these skills. And when you get a license, you come to stage 3, where you're conscious, you're competent. You do only driving. You don't focus on anything else. You are very, very careful of your driving. And after several months, several years, you go to a stage where sometimes you're thinking about something, you're listening to your favorite song, and driving is happening. So that is called unconscious competence. So understanding this model, or the 4 stages of learning, helps us in knowing where we are when it comes to executing things. For example, in project management, we do risk management, we do change management. When a professional with 5 years or 6 years, 7 years experience in programming, technical leadership, or test leadership wants to become a project manager, he or she may think that, you know what, risk management is very easy, change management is very easy, I can do it. So you are in stage 1. When you start doing it, you come to stage 2. You undergo some training programs, learn, do some certifications, you come to stage 3. You practice that again and again, you go to stage 4. So that is where we have to ask a question, are we transforming those practices into good habits so that we can see positive results? So now let me take you through the 7 essentials one by one. So these 7 essentials, the topic itself came to me because I was researching on this about 2 years ago to find out what are the essential things required for the IT professionals of the current century. Because about 2 or 3 decades ago, the industry was different. We were all writing programs in only one language. The entire project would be written in a language called COBOL, and all team members needed to know only one skill. Those were called monolithic IT systems. And if you see now, the challenges are different. We have multiple technologies. We have globalization. We have to work with geographically distributed teams. And customer needs and demands have changed a lot. So this means that the challenges of the professionals of the current century are way higher than what it was about 20 or 30 years ago. So we need to understand the fact. This shows that unless we focus on certain skills and develop those, it is going to be very difficult for us to increase the success rate of projects or operations that we do day in and day out. So when I was going through this thought process, I read so many articles, participated in several discussions. Then the idea struck to me that why not IT professionals attempt to convert some of these practices into habits? Because when you have adequate knowledge, skill, and desire, or when you know what to do and why to do, and when you know how to do, and you have the want to do, that is desire, you can create habits. So if you create positive habits, it is going to impact your professional life positively. So then I thought, in order to do that, what is essential? And I came up with 7 essentials. Out of these, the first one is learn and share. So how many of us agree that learning is a lifelong process? I know almost every one of us agree. Because it doesn't work when you try to teach someone something. Nobody can be taught about something unless that person has an open mind to learn about something. So now the question is, what should we learn? And how do we learn? Because how do we learn is a very, very powerful question. Every one of us will have certain ways of learning. Some of us learn by reading, some of us learn by teaching, some of us learn by looking at a video, some of us learn by listening to someone speaking, and some of us learn by observing somebody, and some of us learn by looking at others' mistakes, and some of us learn by understanding what happens in other projects. So the way we learn differ from person to person. So every individual has to first answer the question, how do I learn? What are the primary ways of learning? And the second question is, have I applied these ways to maximize my learning over the past year? Am I doing that again and again? Because that is the way to maximize our learning. We are in a situation in this industry where we cannot afford to attend training programs to learn each and everything that we need to learn. We must learn how to learn fast, very important. So what should we learn? A great question. Yes, as a project manager, I know what I need to learn. I learn project management principles, project management practices. That is not a sufficient answer. As a project manager, we must be able to answer this question for our team members also. Unless we answer this question, we will not be able to develop a training plan and suggest the right topics to our team members. How should we learn is very important too. So if you know that one of your team member doesn't learn much by attending training programs, you have to provide him the right channel to learn. How can we learn to learn faster is very important, because you cannot attend a 6-month program on a new language or an application server or something to start a project, because these days the learning curve is steep. However, the time available to learn is very short. And it is not sufficient if we learn, we should also share. Sharing is very important. So we should learn to share. And sometimes we need to unlearn. Peter Drucker is one of the management exponents. And he wrote a paper, Managing Oneself. And this is a very good paper. And this paper answers this question, how should you learn? And he says, self-knowledge enables you to understand your way of learning. Some of us are listeners and others are readers. Some of us learn by participating in discussion while others learn by watching. And speed of learning is also important, because People who are born in the digital world, or people who are coming out of schools now, they are born digital. And scientific studies have proved that they are learning faster than our generation. So which means that we need to learn faster in order to remain competitive and viable in the industry. And as I told you, learning and sharing go hand in hand. They're always together. Unlearning is important. For example, a concept called test-driven development that was introduced over the past 10 years or so is a very good example. Traditionally, we learned that we always develop a program and test it. When TDD was introduced, we had to go through significant unlearning to know that yes, you can write your test cases, have your test data beforehand, you can write your test scripts before developing your source code. So there are several such examples. Many times in our world, team members think that technical skills are sufficient, but Peter Deming says that if you want to create value to customers, you need to have deep technical skills, and you should also have value skills. Value skills are all about coordination, customer relations, commitment to management, team management, lifelong learning, and business skills. So when you bring all this together, you combine technical skills and value skills together, you become a true professional and you become capable of delivering value to customers. So the first of these 7 essentials is learn and share. Let me move on to the next one, is experiment and explore. So when you learn and share, you tend to remain theoretical. When you experiment and explore, you get an opportunity to validate and sometimes refine your understanding of how things work. And the questions are, why should we experiment and explore? What are the benefits of this habit? And do you think experimenting and exploration can lead to innovation? If you see these two, learn and share and experiment and explore, these two are very critical to project managers also. So in our profession, we cannot settle down with a feeling that, yes, I did PMI's PMP certification and I'm settled. I can remain a project manager for the next 5 years and deliver successful projects. We should keep ourselves up to date with what's happening, and also we should develop the habit of experimenting and exploring. And we should develop the habit of validating if our team members have this habit of experimenting. This is because we cannot afford to wait for a project and start experimenting things. We should do as many instances of experimentation and exploration and master technology before we deliver successful results in customer projects, or in order to deliver successful results in customer projects. For example, once when I was learning relational databases, I used to sit with my friends and we used to do a lot of experiments and understand how database locking works and when deadlock happens and what is a true phase commit. So when you experiment and explore and experience how these things work, you become aware of how the database product implements some of this. When we did that, it was a fun exercise. Later, several years after that, when we were presented with the challenge of managing large databases and production issues, we were fearless. We were able to handle those issues very swiftly because of the experimentation and exploration that we had done before. So similarly, as managers, we should develop this habit and see if our team members are capable of doing this. Very, very important. Let me move on to the next one. Take the initiative. So this subject comes very frequently in all organizations during performance appraisals. When you hear your manager telling you, you know what, last year you did not take any initiative. You are technically very good, but you are not taking initiative. The question is, what does taking the initiative mean to you? You name initiatives that can improve results in your project. In my opinion, an initiative need not be a large project which can bring in a technology breakthrough or something. But intuitively, if you see, we perceive initiatives as big projects seeded with great ideas aimed at making a technology breakthrough or a management breakthrough. That is how we perceive. That is wrong. We can undertake very small initiatives, and when you combine all such small things, the end result can be significant. So now you have to ask these questions and find answers. And the third question is, do you need to be aggressive in order to take initiatives? Many times we feel that we have to be aggressive in order to take initiative, which is not right. We need not be aggressive. We need not be very, very aggressive and forceful when we work with our teams or when we want to take initiatives. We can be cooperative, collaborative, assertive, and authentic. So these are the qualities that help us in taking initiatives. And when you are aggressive, often you impact relationships negatively. And you do not respect relationships. So that's not needed when you are taking initiative. You need not be aggressive. You have to be authentic and assertive. And when you do not take the initiative, you stagnate. You do not bring out the value of the first two habits. When you take the initiative, you are combining the first three habits and you become effective. Fourth one is about reuse, because reuse can improve efficiency and quality. Efficiency is the time you take to deliver something or the cost you consume to deliver something, etc. So when reuse can improve efficiency and quality, sometimes we think that reuse is limited to software components or hardware components. As project managers, how many of us practice reuse? And how do we nurture the habit of reuse or the culture of reuse? And how can you balance the pursuit of reuse with professional ethics, because reuse is not about using someone else's work. You have to be aware when you are violating copyright issues. You have to be aware when you are using open source. And what are the barriers in your team or in your organizations when it comes to promoting reuse? So when you practice reuse, you get a lot of benefits. Number one, you're going to improve productivity, and number two is you're going to improve quality. There are various other benefits too. And once Steve Jobs, this ex-CEO of Apple and Pixar Animation Studios, he delivered a lecture, a talk, where he said, you should know how to connect the dots. Connecting the dots is very important. And he said, you cannot connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. This is a very good example of how, as professionals, we can deliver results by promoting reuse. When we look back and leverage our knowledge, skills, and experience, apply those in our project, it is going to help us execute our projects in a better way. So that is, again, a form of reuse. Let me move on to the next point, which is about value quality. Because when you learn and share, when you experiment and explore, take the initiative and practice reuse, you must also value quality. It's about understanding quality from various dimensions. Typically, we think that quality is just about process quality or product quality. But the manifesto of software craftsmanship is a very good example how industry leaders are propagating quality conscious among professionals. This manifesto emphasizes on business quality, professional quality, and engagement quality as well. If you see, business quality is directly related to gradual value addition to users, to customers. And professional quality is deep-rooted in growing with fellow professions through learning and sharing. And engagement quality is about nurturing productive partnerships and ensuring customer satisfaction. So as project managers, what is our definition of quality? How do we define the quality of our relationship with our team members? The quality of relationship with our partners. And how frequently do we deliver quality, and what differences do we deliver?
Mr. Bhavani, I would like to interrupt you. Your
We need to
voice is
think
breaking.
about
Your voice is
this
breaking a lot in between.
question. Why are more habits in process?
Hello, Mr. Bhavani?
Hello?
Are you there? Yeah, your voice is breaking a lot in between. Can you please check your network connections
Hi, Vinny.
once? Your voice is
Yeah,
breaking a lot.
sure, sure. Let me do. Okay.
Can you please close Outlook and
Let
other
me
things, other
take a
applications?
quick pause and sorry about that for a second. now?
Can you please try to speak?
Mohini, is it okay now?
Yeah, it's good now.
Yeah, I'm speaking now.
Okay,
Okay.
it's fine.
So, okay. So valuing quality is not limited to the products you are delivering. You have to think beyond that in terms of how you establish relationship with fellow professionals, customers, and how you make sense for business. So beyond product quality and process quality, think about um, business quality, professional quality, and engagement quality. And when you practice the first four habits, the effectiveness of this habit increases. For example, when you have an organization in your company that promotes quality, when the members of that organization practice all these four habits, they become experts and they become role models in adding quality to your profession. Unless IT professionals value quality, obviously it is very difficult to deliver quality products and services. So with that note, let me move on to the next slide, which is synergize. Synergy, if you see, is the result of creative cooperation among professionals. When you work in a team or when you work with your fellow professional, two of you are working on something, uh, the overall impact increases more than your individual efforts or individual capabilities. In our profession, synergy is more than just working together with other professionals because we all the time work with several software packages and tools. Unless we know how to create synergy among our team members as well as our professional, as well as the tools that we use, we will fail to leverage the opportunity of maximizing results. So the questions are, how do you synergize with your teams? What do you do to synergize with your teams? And why do IT professionals need to synergize with tools? Because if you are using two tools which are not compatible, which are not going to yield the right kind of results, which are going to result in duplication of work, that is a lot of waste. And finally, how can this help you in improving customer satisfaction? So when you believe in synergize, when you believe in synergy, when you know how the concept of synergy can be extended from teams to tools as well, you know the art of maximizing results or increasing productivity and quality as well. And I'll give an example. Working with geographically distributed teams is one of the challenges for many of us because almost all projects have geographically distributed teams, or at least we have a customer and customer's team sitting in another country. And when we build synergy with the right set of tools, say communication tools or collaborative tools, and we invest a good amount of time in understanding each other in our teams, we build a true working relationship with geographically distributed teams. So this is a very important habit that every one of us should understand and master. And let me move on to the next or the final essential, which is radiate can-do attitude. Can-do attitude is very contagious, which means that it spreads like a disease. People are inspired when you exhibit or radiate can-do attitude. Without the first 6 habits, if someone tries to radiate can-do attitude, it will not last for a long time. Because without learning and sharing and experimenting and exploring and taking the initiative, people are going to get outdated very soon. They're going to become irrelevant. And with all these habits, when you exhibit can-do attitude, you remain relevant, you inspire others, or you influence others. As a project manager, how do you radiate can-do attitude? Or what is can-do attitude for you? And when do you think it yields results? Are you a manager who believes in demonstrating through examples or through behavior? And how can you do that in your day-to-day profession, day-to-day activities? Think about that. So can-do attitude is very, very important. And if you want to do that, you have to be solution-focused. You have to have a conviction, courage, and confidence, and finally passion. All these together radiate can-do attitude. So with this note, let me take you through how these 7 essentials or 7 habits are interconnected. And if you see, learning and sharing is where we prepare. We are at a level where we are preparing ourselves. And when you are taking the initiative and when you are experimenting and exploring, that is where you are acting. So you prepare, act, and when you are synergizing, you are working with the team, you are working with tools, you are collaborating. And when you are practicing reuse and value quality, that is where you are optimizing. Because unless you practice reuse, unless you focus on quality, you fail to realize the opportunity for optimization. And finally, when you radiate can-do attitude, you become an influencer. So as a manager, are you influencing your team, or are you practicing the command and control style of leadership? And can these steps help you become an influencer in your team? So these are my questions to you. And next we move on to the final part, which is the virtuous cycle. That's to demonstrate how the whole thing creates a virtuous cycle. So when you learn and share, you prepare, and when you are experimenting and exploring, and when you are taking the initiative, that's where you act, and from there you move on to practicing reuse and value and quality, optimize, and that creates a virtuous cycle. You're always moving in this positive cycle. You prepare, you learn new things, you experiment, explore, you optimize, you influence, and you become a successful manager, a role model who can create high performance teams. And when you identify people in your team who do this, you create influencers in your team. And this is very important. Otherwise, in most cases, we fail to prepare, we react. Instead of acting, we react. And instead of optimizing, when you react, you end up in escalations. You handle escalations, and then you move in the opposite spiral, which is a vicious cycle. So, do we want to fall into a vicious cycle, or do we want to fall into a virtuous cycle? That's the question. Yes, of course, all of us want to move in this virtuous cycle where we want to practice these habits and practicing these habits are not restricted to the team members. As project managers, we should be the role models to demonstrate whatever we can do. Uh, we have to take the initiative. We have to tell that yes, I am a manager. I can move out of the command and control style and become a true influencer. I can inspire my team in order to deliver results in my project. So with that note, let me move on to certain important things, points to ponder. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Imagination is more important than knowledge. The important thing is not to stop questioning. Curiosity has its own reason for existing. So if you see the past 7 or 8 slides, I have included several questions because questioning is a way of learning. And so we should not stop questioning. We cannot solve problems by using the same kind of thinking we used when we created. So we have to think differently. And we must attempt to handle problems in a different way. So this is the quotes by Albert Einstein. I took them from the internet. And so now let me give an important thing. Habits are very powerful. And Getty Paul says, the individual who wants to reach the top in business must appreciate the might of the force of habit. And must understand that practices are what create habits. So if we identify that certain project management practices are critical for us, now the question is, can we convert those practices into habits? And will those habits help us improve the success rate of projects? And he must be quick to break those habits that can break him and hasten to adopt those practices that will become the habits that help him achieve the success. So this means that we should know which habits are breaking us or which are impacting our results, and we have to break those habits and adopt those practices which will help us achieve success. And we have to convert those practices into habits. So now let me open up for some questions and discussions. And I'm going to look at the question panel. And there is a question. Let me go through one by one. There are several questions in the panel. I'm just trying to open that, undock. Let me try to answer some of the questions. So one of the questions is, as rightly pointed out in the presentation, decrease in formal trainings of project managers. This is due to the narrow vision of cost cutting through in-house trainings by IT majors. PMI to some extent has addressed this gap to local chapters. What, in your view, is the reluctance to collaborate with professional organizations? So, in fact, I would say that the very fact of having webinars like this indicate that yes, we are collaborating, and there are organizations, large organizations, who have true partnership and collaboration with PMI. They, in addition to PMI certification programs, they conduct one-day workshops and seminars. And I strongly believe that there should not be any reluctance. We should openly collaborate with professional organizations. And this is, in a way, the habit I talked about, called take the initiative. As professionals, we should take the initiative to go and become member of such professional organizations. We should go and attend lectures, attend talks, presentations. And at some point in time, we should also go and share our experience in such forums. So thanks. That was a question from Achut Nayak. Thanks, Achut. Very good question. So let me move on to the next question from Bainston Rajaturai. He says, good presentation, thanks for that. Don't you also think adaptability and presentation are also essential in success of IT professionals? Yes, very true. And when you practice, learn, and share, you learn adaptability and you learn presentation skills as well. So that, if you include these two in your agenda of learning, through learning and sharing, you can include this and practice this. A very good question. Let me look at some more questions and try to answer. One from Satish. It says, in today's IT business, where in most organizations the project managers have no relevant technical skills about the project they're managing, how do you think they can be successful in delivering the 7 points you mentioned? Well, as soon as you, as an individual, you realize that you do not have relevant technical skills, you move from the first stage of learning into the second stage. Then it is all about your self-initiative and learning about it. Many times, a misconception we have is that we learn when we go and sit in a training program. Training programs are your initial steps of learning. And after that, you have to do a lot of self-learning and learn from experiments, exploration. All these are very much required. So it is in a way, this is a question that makes us realize that every one of us need self-initiative to identify certain skills and at least develop some familiarity. Because as a project manager, you do not know about XML. All you need to do is read a couple of white papers, go through some presentations, and know what XML is all about. Because you're not going to write XML scripts or XML. You're not going to create XML files. So you should know how much you want to learn and start learning. There's no doubt about that. And let me try to handle some more questions. I'm getting a lot of questions. I'll try to answer as many. I will get some more time as well. Jay Prakash. He says, does take the initiative involve taking accountability also? Of course, that is, you have to be accountable. That is a given. So it is a part of your job expectation. So that's my answer. Shyam Goda asks a question, what is the subtle difference between habits and perceptions? So a lot of differences. Habit is what you do, what you're an expert. When you say that I have this habit of writing good quality code, then you're demonstrating it. You're doing it again and again. But perception is what others think about you. And when you demonstrate this again and again, the gap between perception and reality will reduce. So people will know what you are. So you have to demonstrate, talk about it. So habits and perceptions are very different, yes, but they have a relationship there. So if you have a habit which is positive, which is helping your profession, you need to talk about it. You need to make others know so that their perceptions become close to the fact. And Krishna Kumar is asking a question. What would be the best practice methodology for upcoming project managers? Well, the word methodology itself is a loaded word. So if you're asking me about what is the best way to plan and execute, initiate, plan, execute, and close a project, I would say that yes, you need to know what project management is all about and then select the right steps that suit your project. Because if you're executing a large project, you're going to do all those written in the textbook. If you're executing a small project, you have to minimize the steps and do what is necessary and go with that. And let me go and take some more questions. Sriman Mishra is asking a question. As a technical architect, how do you think PM practice should be helpful as it introduces some sort of overhead in project execution? If you say we should take initiatives to find new ways of problem solving, then when do we practice that? Okay, the first question. Project management practices are never an overhead when we make those valuable and make the end users or the customers realize the value of it. For example, let me take change management and risk management. These two are two key practices. And when we do risk management, we do it in the right way and let others know how we are doing it. Stakeholders are going to appreciate the way we do it. And if we do risk management just for the sake of doing it, and then it is possible that stakeholders may perceive that as an overhead because they are not getting any value out of it. So we should think how the practices that we implement, project management practices, make sense to the project as well as stakeholders. So that's my answer to question one. Second is if you say we should take initiative, find new ways for problem solving, then when do we practice? A good way to do that is to participate in discussion forums, go attend conferences, and have a project manager's network in your organization. Share your thoughts and share your ideas. So you will come across new ways of problem solving. And definitely, I know the project management, the profession itself is a challenging profession. If you're working on a project, you're occupied in the project full time, and you may not get adequate time to take initiative, etc. But if you develop the mindset to think about it, develop the mindset to network with people, and keep a channel of thought open for that, then you can make it happen. Now let me take one more question. As a manager, we can try to be the role model for the team, but how to change the habit of senior management or high influencers on projects? There's a question from Shyam Goda. Maybe let them go through this webinar, and also at the end of my slide deck I have given a link to a white paper I wrote on this topic. I would request all of you to read it and share it with your senior management, so that may help. And if we become the change agents, and if we show the change, I think people around us will also change. That's my belief, but that's a good question. And a lot of questions are flowing. I want to give a good balance on this. Nitin Patil has asked me a question. When we work for CMI level 5 organization, we work under limitations. So the question is not anything. So I don't know what the questions are. So because of that, let me move on to the next question. Which is, what are the limitations as project manager? Amar Kulkarni is asking this question. I don't think there are limitations. The limitations are driven by your ability to think. So if you think smartly, if you think deeply, you can come across as many limitations as you think at the initial level. So that's my answer to this question. Roshan asks a question. Suppose one task chances of success is minimal, but you might have a gut feeling. So what must one do? Oh. Yeah, you have to apply your experience. So if you are doing a task, you know that your chances of success is minimal. You have a gut feeling. You collaborate. You talk to your peers. You talk to your trusted colleague, your manager, get their opinion, and then come up with a collective decision. And that approach will help. Anshuman is asking a question. Thank you, Mr. Raja, for this wonderful session. Thank you. I would like to ask how one can rightly learn and share, as learning is wrong. Learning in wrong direction will be confused while sharing. Yeah, that's correct. Actually, yes. How one can rightly learn and share. So for this, you have to ask those questions, because the act of self-inquiry and self-retrospective is required to know what you want to learn and how you want to learn. And find a mentor in your organization. It can be a senior person who is ready to spend time with you and help you in identifying things that you want to learn. So I think that kind of brings me to the end of questions. There are several questions I see, but due to the limitation on time, let me end my session here. And I'll try to answer all these questions on the website. And let me thank again TechGeek for TechGeek PMI and Times of India for inviting me to conduct this webinar. And thanks Mohini for anchoring this. And have a great day. Mohini, over to you.
Well, thanks Mr. Bhavani for your session on Force of Habit, 7 Essentials for 21st Century IT Professionals. It was indeed a great session. I would also like to thank all our participants for the support in making this webinar a success. The recording of this webinar will be available on techgeek.com by tomorrow. Thank you all. Have a great day.